I wanted today to really approach this end of the year. I know we're January 8th, you guys. I know that, but this is how it rolls after the holidays. It's like we go on this roller coaster of holiday stuff, and then it's like, oh, Christmas is over, and then all of a sudden it's New Year, and we're like, what the heck? Right? It snuck up on me again every year. I feel like it sneaks up on me. And so I find it really, really helpful, though, to have kind of this, I want to say clearing, I want to say a moment of guided recollection, walking through maybe things that, oh, that must be your kefir, Dina. Um, Beverly, just writing through things that maybe went on that we just kind of brushed aside. For those of you who run a business or who maybe do homeschooling or something like that, or even are a teacher, like you have these periods of the year where you just kind of like take a whole and say, okay, what went right this quarter? What went wrong? What can I change? And this is really meant to be of that energy, but it's meant to be a more energetic shift. And so I welcome you guys here, and I am just like so ecstatic for it. What I want you to know for this session is that this is for you. Okay. It's not for the world. It's not for all the crap as a globe that we went through. It's not for the things that feel like they're weighing on other people. We tend to do that. We tend to say, well, these people, they didn't have a good year. Or, in Florida, we had a couple hurricanes. They just were not fun. There's people who lost their homes. So that's a bad thing. This is meant for what you've observed and what's in your life, okay? So really kind of step away from that kind of world view that us women love to do and kind of focus on yourself. Make sure you have a piece of paper, pen or pencil, and some water. We are going to jot some things down too as we go. And also, as always, feel free to take any notes if you're a note taker. But yeah, let's focus on our own lives, on being able to take a summary of what went right and what went wrong, right? Wrong, because those are the things that we take with us. Those are the stuff that shapes our lives, right? That's our limiting beliefs. That's our subconscious. That's the things that we are fearful of. And that's what we want to focus on today. So if you have a piece of paper, or not. You don't have to have it, but if you have a piece of paper, I want you to take a minute here and jot down a couple things that you feel like maybe didn't go so well. And I first off want to say, like, this is not a judgment thing. We're not writing down things that automatically make us feel like we did really bad, like we made mistakes, that make you feel like you're a bad person, right? Like, we're just trying to make it as simple as possible. Every single one of us has between 2 and 10 probably things that we probably just don't really love about this past year. And really, really challenge yourself to look at those things that maybe you felt like in the moment you processed pretty well. Maybe in that moment you felt like, okay, it's fine now. That was meant to happen. I'm okay. I survived. We lived. Like, really challenge yourself to look at any of those and say, but did I fully process that? Did I fully change my perspective on that? Because if it's coming up right now when I'm asking you for those unsettled feelings or experiences, there's a chance that there's something in there that's kind of hooking onto you. That I would call that an energetic hook that is saying, I'm not quite processed that. I've not quite moved on from that. Okay, so just write it down, get a feel for it, and make sure you guys look at last January, right? The first half of the year, unless they're massive things, like, we tend to kind of overlook those and just look at the past couple months. So really challenge yourself to grab anything that feels like it's coming up. And I'll give you a couple examples because I have to do this too. I do this every year now. But for me personally, uh I responded to someone who was being mean to me in a mean way because I kind of felt attacked. And I'm not kidding. Like, in the moment, I felt like, well, I mean, what else was I supposed to do? I have to defend myself, right? But after the fact, months later, I know that I was acting out of fear and not out of faith. And I was actually allowing that situation to take more control of my life than I would have liked, right? So even the tiniest things, especially if you're an empath, those might be weighing on you. So take a second, write it down. If you guys want to share, you can put anything in the chats, in the chat box. If you want to share verbally, that's fine. If you never want anyone to see this list ever in your life, like no one's going to see it, okay? So don't worry about that. But please, please refrain from judging every little thing you did, okay? Because that will totally backtrack on what the purpose of this is, okay? Do you guys have any questions? Everybody doing good? Okay. So go ahead and write down a few of those things. This is going to be so great. Let's see here. This chat box. Okay. Awesome. And then I am going to walk you through something that I think will be super helpful. So I'm just looking, going to give you one more minute to help us write down some of these things. And don't worry, we are going to cover the good stuff. Okay. Some of that too will be in that next session. But this is really, really for releasing that extra baggage that we're taking with us all the time. Does anybody feel like they have something that they're not quite sure about, or you feel like maybe you wrote down 5 things, but you feel like you didn't get everything or anything like that? Those could be extra blocks, just trying to keep you safe so you don't have to feel all those big feelings that are super annoying. So let me know if that's you too. And if so, we can do kind of a clearing on that in a little bit. Good. I see you guys, some people still writing, which is good. Okay. All right. Awesome. Does everybody have at least like 3 things? Yeah, it was easy to get 3, right? It's like, oh, and if you want to replay this later because you feel like maybe there's more things you want to add to it, you can totally take this next section and kind of replay it with a bigger list, okay? So what I want you to do is get comfortable, whatever that means for you, and you could still be sitting, it doesn't matter to me, but I want you guys make sure you don't have any distractions right now, okay? Um, Make sure you're on like do not disturb. Get comfortable. If you want to turn off your camera, you can. If you're still here with me, I don't mind, believe me. Um, and so what I want to do is I want to kind of walk you through um, a scene here. So go ahead and get comfortable and let's take a couple breaths in, okay, through the nose and out the mouth. And with these kind of thoughts or situations or experiences on your list, on your paper, I want you to keep that kind of in the forefront of your mind, okay? I want you to vision yourself in a place where you feel the most at peace. Okay, so for some of you, this is in a mountain house. Like for some of you, it's going to be at the beach. It's important you are by yourself. Okay, you're completely by yourself. There's no constraint on time, there's no constraint on anything. Okay, this is just you by yourself. The only thing is that it has to be somewhere where you feel very connected to the scenery around you. So if it's nature, whatever it is, I would call this a God place, right? This is the place where you feel connected to the divine, to God, to Mother Nature, what have you. And you just feel totally at peace with everything. And I want you to breathe here. I want you to just allow your body to relax into the dirt or the sand or the comfy chair that you're in. And just notice that every breath you take in is this beautiful, like 100% oxygen. It's just refilling your lungs and helping your blood to pump better, just filling you up with all sorts of gratitude and solace, right? And I want you to think of one of the things on that list. Bring it with you into this spot. And I want you to think about if this thing, if this experience, if this emotion, if this regret matters so much that it should take up any of your time in this spot. And if it's an instant no, that's good. I want you to just breathe that out and say, I release, I release, I release. And if there's some question about whether this is that big of a deal, I want you to take a further step back and see there's more mountains and there's more ocean and there's more that you feel connected to. I want you to notice that your body is connected to the world around you, to this beautiful nature, to the water, to the stars. And I want you to ask again, does this problem, does this situation matter in this spot, in this space? And focus on your breath and just say, I choose to release. I choose to. In the end, it is your choice. I want you to notice that everything on your list in this space does not need to be there. It doesn't need to be a worry. Recognize that you choose whether or not to worry about it. And I want you to feel that peace of understanding that you choose to let go instead of to fear. Okay, good job. And let's take another minute to kind of make sure that everything on that list has kind of been brought to this stage, to this scene, to this event, and make sure it also gets released, that it doesn't get to stay in this space with you. Very good. Good job. And so when you're ready, just come back. Come back to your office, your home, your bedroom, wherever you are. And I really want you to look at that list and see if your perspective has changed on any of that. See if you have a better understanding of the weight of it. Has that shifted for you? Has it felt like, oh, maybe that's not such a big deal? Um, and if you do feel that way, let me know in the chat. If you feel like there's something on there that it just still wants to hang on, that's another thing. Okay, you need to make a note of that. Most things on your list should be able to be cleared like this. Some things, remember, keep in mind, it's been 10 months since it happened, right? Some things, it's very recent. If it's very recent, maybe it does need a little more time. Maybe it needs more of this kind of work. Okay. Now I need to know okay. I'm going to look at these comments in a second, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. So I need to know, for those of you that had issues kind of connecting and feeling that peace in general before we brought in the situations and the emotions and all that, is there anybody here who had trouble just feeling very at one with God and with the scenery and just feeling that peace? Did anybody have issues with that perspective at all? Because good, 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 good. I'm happy about that. Yeah. So So even if you have trouble visualizing, okay, still being able to separate your everyday problems, I'm using this very lightly, from uh, a God presence, from a divine presence, from Mother Nature, right? There should be um, there should be definitely a shift just in taking those things into that space. Okay. If you're having trouble with that, there is probably something more going on with just being able to connect more, feeling worthy to be in that situation, right? Because some of us are stopping ourselves from being there just because we don't feel worthy enough. We don't feel worthy enough to be forgiven. We don't feel worthy enough to learn from experiences that we know we did something wrong, or we don't feel worthy enough to overcome things that we feel like we deserved, right? So there's a thing there for sure. And that would be the direction I take it is maybe you need to explore more, being able to connect into that space of feeling, connected to God and the divine, right? Let me go ahead and look at these comments so I can make sure I'm covering this. Something still wanting to hang on, feel less worried about them, lighter, awesome. Trouble visualizing, but can feel okay. So some people actually don't visualize the same way I do, and it's the same way a lot of people in here do. Okay, so sometimes it's more about the emotion connected to it because it's hard to visualize for, I think, 10% of the people out there. So that's actually a chunk, right? And if that's you and this is not something that you've ever been good at, I challenge you to lean into the emotions. There will always be, even in any of the visualizations I do, or even other people that I've been in groups with, we always bring in the emotions, right? We say, we're going to feel peace here. We're going to feel love. We're going to feel calm. We're going to focus on our breathing, right? All of those things are what you want to focus on, especially if you can feel deeply, if you're an empath, right? Let me see here. Let someone in here. So let's see. So Terry, yes, so she's a trouble visualizing. I have something still wanting to hang on. If it's super recent, Terry, because I know you had some stuff going on like in the last couple months. If it's super recent, then I want you to watch this again in a little bit. Let's say another month or so. I also want to move things along quickly, but sometimes we need a minute. And I've talked to you about it before, but there might be some other things that you have to work on with hanging on to the past and stuff, right? But if it's that recent situation, I would say let's just let it kind of sit for a minute. No worries, no worries. Okay. Okay, awesome, you guys. That was really a great way to kind of assess things. I think last year in my membership group, we did something like that at the end of the quarter, the first quarter, and I thought, oh, we should do that again, and then I didn't do it again. I'm doing it now, but it's okay. It's okay because I'm human just like you guys. So here we are. Okay, so as we move on. And we just got, hey, welcome, welcome. We just did a visualization about our past year and the things that we wanted to hold on to, but we need to let go of and being able to release those and process those. And there's a million other ways to process them. I teach it in like all of the work that I do. We always have a way to release those kinds of things. So I also encourage you, if something feels like it's sticking that you'd like to work through further, take that to what you've understood and what your tools have been too. But the big thing that I want you guys to recognize here is that we have the opportunity to look at all of our experiences from two different lenses. Okay. One is through fear, which is very common. And then the other one is through faith. Okay. So whether you know it or not, whether it's super obvious to you, you get to choose how you look at something. Okay. Is it through fear or is it through faith? If you have energetic hooks that are not letting you process something, not letting you let go of an experience you had, maybe it's even grieving, which is super hard for some of us to let go of. If you look at that through a lens of fear, we're thinking about, yeah, we're going to miss that person. Yeah, we're going to miss that relationship. We're going to miss those conversations. Like, what am I going to do without them? What am I going to do with this next experience if I don't have that person to rely on, right? That's through fear. But if we look at it through faith, then we choose to look at the situation like, well, I don't have all the answers. And I'm really saying that I don't, but all of us, right? We don't have all the answers. We don't know why certain things happen the way they do. We don't know why, life kind of throws us a curveball every once in a while. We don't understand all of that. And anyone who says they do understand that right off the bat is just lying, right? It's just not possible in our perspective here as humans to be able to have the same perspective as God or the divine, right? It's just not possible. And so allow yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to have faith in that though. I'll give you like the smallest little example of what I mean. So it's Wednesday. Yes, it is. So on Tuesday, like within all day Monday, I was traveling. We just got back from New Jersey and I had a solid day Tuesday. There was nowhere to put anything else, right? Because I had like rescheduled people because we were out of town and all this stuff. And so Monday, I had all of my appointments canceled, every single one. And believe me, I was kind of relieved because I was like exhausted anyway. But just in general, when that happens, I can go to a place of fear. I can say, oh, uh-oh, where am I going to put those people when they all want to reschedule, which they always do at the same time, right? Or where am I going to, oh no, I was supposed to make so much money that day. I didn't make that, right? Like there's all these places that I can go with that fear is nonstop, never ending, right? It's like this just pile that can keep coming. Like there's never enough, right? It'll just keep coming if you let it. So I can look at it that way, or I could say, oh, for whatever reason, I needed my day back. For whatever reason, I needed that time to recuperate, you know? I've had it happen before where that's happened to me, and I book a massage for myself because I didn't put it in my normal schedule, right? You can do whatever you want with those situations, and that is just like the tiniest one. But just to show you guys how we can choose what to fall into. So when you look at this list, can you see that some of these things that feel unsettled to you, or at least did at the beginning of this call, can you see how you're looking at that through fear? Maybe it was a breakup, right? Maybe it's a breakup with a friend, with a partner, with a husband, with a whatever. Maybe if that breakup is feeling, what if I never find anyone else? What if that was the best I could have gotten? What if I just needed to put up with, this weird thing that they do and then everything else would have been fine? What if, what if, what if, what if, what if, all day long. Okay. But you're choosing to look at it through fear. When you choose to look at it through faith, maybe that wasn't meant to be. Maybe there's someone else that needs to come in and there was nowhere for them to come at the time, you know? Maybe you weren't open to having conversations with random people because you feel like you didn't have any more time for a friend. You have enough friends. Like, how many of us feel that way? Sometimes I feel that way. I'm like, I only have so much time for friends, right? Families first. And then there's friends and there's business and there's like all these things that take up your time. And sometimes we energetically cut ourselves off from relationships that could change our lives because we decide that we don't have time for it, right? That's coming from a place of fear, right? So look at it that way. And I'm feeling so called to also say that like some of our day-to-day choices are coming so far from fear that we don't even recognize it. How many people purposely take time out of your day to do your makeup, do your hair just because you want to, not because you have to see someone, right? I'm talking about myself too. Of course, you guys know you've seen me in all different stages, okay? But like, how much of your day are you in love with? How much of your day are you in love with? That's my big question. That's been something that I've been personally dealing with recently is like, I love to work. You guys, I do love to work, but I have to also love to give back to myself. I have to also love to use this dang, I got this thing for my skin where it's like this, I don't even know, it like zaps you. I mean, I bought it last year for Christmas for myself from myself, and I wrapped it in everything. I literally used it 4 times in 2024. 4 times. Not because I don't think my skin deserves it. I'm 41. I should probably start taking care of my skin, right? But mostly because I just didn't make the time. When you don't make the time because it's not a habit yet. And then we end up in a situation where I think, oh my gosh, I've had that for a year and I've used it 4 times. I started using it. I used it today. Did I have time to do it? Thank you very much. Thanks for that clap. I probably didn't have time to do it, but I made time. Do you know why? Not because this can sound so bad, but it's not because I have wrinkles and I feel like I should take care of my skin. That's not why I made time. I made the time because I know it brings me joy to do something for myself. And even as ridiculous and small and kind of, it's not something that I do it and I'm like, holy cow, that took off 10 years. No, it takes a year of doing it before it does that, right? But just giving back to myself and saying, you know what, you are worth this 10 minutes. Like, of course, you're worth the 10 minutes. Every single one of you are worth 10 minutes of some kind of joy in your life, right? But when we're so focused on the fear and we're so focused on the regrets and the things from the past, we bringing it back to this year end, we take that with us into the new year. How do we expect to reach any new goals? How do we expect to grow ourselves on a personal level, on a spiritual level, on a relationship level, when all we're doing is bringing back the past? We're just taking it with us. So allow yourself to have some time in your day to feel joy. Okay. And maybe it's reading a book. That's on my list now. It's like I love reading books, but I will only read them if I can listen to them because I'm moving all day long. Right? And that's fine. I still want to listen to it, but to physically sit down with one of the 40 books I have that I've never sat down and opened, like allow myself to have that time. I put a couch in my office so I could allow myself to have that time. And it's still like in my sacred space where the vibes are all good, right? And not out in the living room sitting by the unfolded laundry, right? So allow yourself to have those things in your life. And if this sounds so bizarre to you, if it sounds like so outlandish, like there's just no way I can do that. I'm telling you now, you're living in a place of fear. You're looking at it through fear, right? How could I have time to do that when I need to market my business? How could I have time to do that when I need to record a podcast? Okay. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about because I attract people that are just like me. It's so funny. It's a mirror, it's a reflection of what we all get to work on. Okay, so back to the list. Back to the list. If you can look at that and reframe it, if you will, what things on that list have I been looking at through fear? And how can I reframe that to look at it through faith? It's so hard to have a bad experience, to have something horrible happen to your family or you, and look at that through faith. It is so hard. In fact, sometimes it takes us years to reframe that. For me personally, I can say it has taken me sometimes 5 to 10 years to reframe a trauma that happened to me. Okay. But I believe we can speed it along by simply shifting how we look at that. How can you look at that through faith? Okay. So, what does that maybe look like for some of you? If you look at something through faith, then you're saying that, like, it's so common, right? Like, I'm going to throw it out there and y'all have heard it before, but life is happening for me, right? How is that happening for me? I know it's hard. I saw that face. One of you. It's hard. It's hard to do that, but it's true that it is happening for you. Um, if you can go back to that place that we did in the visualization and feel what you felt in nature, I've never in my life gotten so quick to a place of gratitude, to a place where I would say high vibration, just absolutely full of hope and love and all of the things. The best thing for that is being in a place that you are surrounded by nature's beauty. Okay, that's me. That's how I think, but most people feel that way. Most people feel that way. Okay. So when you can go to that place, ah, you just have to be able to do that fast. You have to train yourself to do that fast. But that kind of place is where we kind of want to be living all the time. Okay. And no, that doesn't mean that I'm in the mountains because I'm still in Florida, y'all. I'm still in Florida. But but the thing is to be able to get your life on that high of a level, on that vibration, is something that is going to constantly every day give back to you. Okay. So I know it's hard to do that in the midst of something big going on. I know it's hard to just take these things with you, especially if they're deeper, especially if they're bigger situations. But training yourself to be able to go there every day and kind of sit there with God, I would say. That's where everything starts to work out. That's where you'll be given opportunities that you didn't know were coming. That's where our energy opens up and we are now able to receive the things that were already trying to come for us. Does that make sense to you guys? You have things in your life right now that are knocking at your door. They're saying, let me in. The relationships, money, opportunities, they're sitting right there, just waiting for you to receive them. But we get so used to giving, we forget how to receive. When you allow yourself to be in that kind of vibration, in that kind of moment with God, with the divine, in nature, when you allow yourself to be there either physically or in your mind, you are going to allow yourself to open up to receiving the things that are already there. Okay. No, I want you to think about like a little child. You know how you see little kids and they go down the aisle at the store and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, gummies. Like, this is the best thing ever. I have to have those. Like, that's all I want. It's all I could think about. They get so excited about everything, right? That's like the child inside that gets so excited. I want to tell you a story. So, we've been traveling a lot with Aspen's hockey team. And we've been going to places I've never been. Okay. And it's fun. I mean, I love it. I don't love like every aspect of traveling with hockey gear and being on a schedule and having 2 games a day and then fitting things in. And I don't love every aspect, but I tell you what, when we go somewhere and I get to see something new in nature, in the world, I get to experience a small town in Connecticut. I'm telling you what, I am that little child. And actually, it's funny to me because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know other people didn't get that excited about life. I had no idea. It's crazy. So I have friends, okay, you guys, I do have friends. Um, I see them every once in a while. I don't have people I see every day besides the hockey people. And then every Sunday I see the church people. And then, you know what I mean? You guys see me here. This is me. This is me on Instagram. This is me sharing my art, right? But having interactions with people, it just takes you to a different level. And I kid you not, we went to this little place in Connecticut, and one of the dads on the hockey team knew this guy. And this is such a God moment. This just came to me that I actually have to tell the whole story. So I was in charge of getting together the families. Like we have one group dinner while we're away. And we really try to either fundraise so we can pay for everybody's dinner that night, or we try to do something where it's super cheap for everybody because we're all traveling, right? And so I was kind of nonchalant in charge of this group dinner on our first trip when we went to Connecticut in October. And the craziest thing happened. I'm sure you guys, some of you know it because you live here, but we had a hurricane come through. Then we had another hurricane come through. And while it mattered where you lived, how bad it got, the whole community was had issues. Okay, I mean the whole community. We still have people here in Zephyr Hills that are flooded because of how bad it was, and this is 3 months later. People lost homes. Like it was a big deal, and we didn't have power. And so it came through. I believe it was like a Wednesday or maybe the Monday. We were flying out on Friday. We already paid for the tournament. We already paid for tickets. We already paid for hotel. And all of these people from my area that all were impacted some way were flying out. And because of the way everything went down and like just knowing it was coming, and I did not figure out the team dinner. Okay. It's like the last thing because first off, I didn't even know it was still going to happen. Okay. And so I felt a little like I should have been in charge of that. But at the same time, I'm like, we literally didn't know we were going to make it. The airport opened 3 hours before our flight left. We just had we did not know what was going to happen. But if that flight was going, we were going because, like I said, we already made that commitment. If six of the girls showed up and not 15 and we couldn't play, right? Like everyone's depending on everybody. So whatever it is, we went, we got there. Okay. I was in a daze the entire time. So was everybody, right? Like I left Dave here. There was no power. He was here by himself, no power, taking care of dogs. And he still had to work because they run propane. Okay. So people needed them. And I'm not even kidding. So the night we were supposed to have a dinner, one of the dads, I was actually sharing a car with him. He said, I have a friend up here. I have a friend. I used to work with him down in Florida. He moved back up here. His family's up here. I said, really? He said, yeah. And they have like this apple orchard. I said, let's go. Right. Like I'm like that little kid. Like, that's amazing. It's fall. Let's go to an apple orchard in Connecticut. Like, how could that get any better? So we go. And he was awesome. Such a nice guy. He didn't have any kids. He's in his 30s. He loved that the girls were there. Everybody was so happy. He's like, we have a train. You guys want to go on a train? I'm like, what? A train? I was so excited. And this other dad, he was like, he still makes fun of me. He's like, I've never seen, and I was more excited than the kids. But he's like, I've never seen someone get so excited. I'm like, have you been on a train in the apple orchard? Like we live in Florida. So I thought that was really funny. And that's the whole point why I was going to tell you that story is because of that moment when I literally, every time I see him now, he still makes fun of me. And I just think, how can you not live that way? How can you not be excited about things you've never experienced before? You know? But to round off the story, it was such a God moment because after we did that, we were so excited. We had so much fun and we saw the fall leaves and I took a bazillion pictures that I'll never look at again because I have 100,000 in my phone. But after that, he said, hey, are you guys like hungry? I said, yeah, we're hungry. It's like we're hungry all the time. We got girls playing hockey for a couple hours a day. And he said, I know this little restaurant, this little Italian restaurant, just follow me. So we all got in our cars and he asked me, he said, how many people are there? And I'm like, well, we've got 15 girls, give or take, at least one parent for each. It's about 40 people. He called up the place. He's like, can you fit 40 people? They said yes. And it was small place. They literally packed us in. And the craziest part of it all is that he paid for our dinner. He paid for everybody's dinner. It was like $800. And I felt this instant like, oh my gosh. I was so worried, like that was my responsibility. And here we are just living life to its fullest. We're feeling the joy, we're experiencing, we're not waiting at the house, we're, getting out there and exploring the world. And it all falls on my plate like that. I just thought it was such a beautiful moment and such a great realization that we have so many things waiting for us if we would just live our lives in the meantime. We would just let that joy seep in, let that child come out and say, I want to experience things, right? Because in the meantime, life is trying to get in there. It's trying to break down those blocks that you have. all those things you're like, oh, I don't deserve that. Oh my gosh, I should have done this. I'm letting people down. I'm a horrible person. If we would just live our lives and feel that joy, then we're living in a higher vibration, and all of those things get to meet us there. They get to meet you there. Are they going to meet you there if you're down here? Probably not. Right? And if we are down here, we're spending all the time worrying anyway. And what life is that? Right? So I know I went off on a tangent about that. I just feel like our best moments are because we're leaning into living. We get so bogged down by what's happened to us in the past, by our experiences, by, someone wronged us, right? We need to take the blame for this. We need to take the blame for that. That's that person's fault. Like all of those things, all they're doing is keeping you in a place of fear. And so when you look at this list and you still feel like some of those are hanging on you, please look at it from faith. Look at it from faith. Say, is this meant to be something that destroys my life? Do you think any of these experiences are meant to destroy you? Because I honestly feel like all of our experiences in some way are meant to bring us closer to that version of ourselves, to this personal growth, to spiritual growth. You can't have one without the other, right? So living more in that vibration, living more in that place of visualization where you can bring in all that beautiful surroundings and the peace and the love and the excitement in the inner child. The place where we create the most. If you're someone who's feeling stuck in life, the place where you create the most is when you're in that childlike wonder that I'm talking about. That is creation magic. If you feel like you're creatively blocked, if you feel like some of you are coaches on here, some of you do other things, if you feel like you're not able to come up with this plan, if you're not able to, get this course out, if you're not able to attract people to you, if you're having issues with having a relationship, you're attracting the wrong people. Like when you get to that place of childlike wonder, okay, that's where creation happens. You ever see a kid sit down with like nothing but a couple wooden blocks? Most of them will sit there for a while and just play with it. Like they can create something. What can you create with something that's so basic, so simple, right? That you otherwise would just overlook or feel like you need to pick up or move aside. Okay. So if you're feeling super blocked about things, that's the place that you need to go to. All right. Be a little child again. Okay. I hope that's settling for you guys. I know it's a lot. I do want to say though, as we look at closing 2024 and as we move forward to 2025, the best things that you want to take with you are those memories where you felt that way. Okay. Maybe it was a couple blocks on the floor. Maybe it wasn't like some crazy trip to Connecticut or some mountain something or whatever, or Greece. Some of you going on crazy places like that. Maybe it's just something small. Maybe it's, family dinner where everyone was laughing hysterically and someone spit up their food because they were laughing so hard, right? Like we get to choose what we want to take with us. Let's take the good stuff. If you've been in my world very long, you know that I always preach about how those traumas and those like deeper stuff, our mind will hold on to that like glue. They'll say, here's the glue, like stick it in there. I never want to forget this because I never want to be hurt again. I never want to forget this because I never want to be blamed for something. I don't want to make any more bad choices, right? Like that's how our subconscious looks at our experiences. It says, those bad ones, we're going to hang on to. We don't want that to happen again. And that just sounds so bitterly awful. So we can consciously decide to remember the good stuff. You can. You absolutely can. You can decide that I want to take those good memories with me, but you'll forget them if you don't really put them aside and say, I want to remember that forever. I never want to forget it. Like me sharing that story about the dinner thing, like I forget to share that with people. Maybe I'll forget it at some point. I don't want to forget that because I thought it was amazing. And it was something so small for that person, this person who, he was very well off and he didn't have any kids. And that was his way of giving back to someone that he really loved in the past. Like it was nothing for him. And for me, it was like, so cool, you know? So just allow yourself to take the good stuff, take the good stuff with you. Okay. And during the next week, before we have our next session, our next one is going to be really cool. It's going to be about goals. It's going to be about resolutions. Some of you don't like to use those words. You don't have to, right? But the reality is, every single one of us in this phase, as we shift out of one year into another, every single one of us are going to look at things. We're going to categorize it. We're going to say, this went good, this went bad, this whatever. So you're there anyway. You might as well use it to your benefit. You might as well roll with it. See, what can I add to my life this year that will help me be more in that God space, more in that higher vibration, right? More in that joy. So this next week, as we gear up to it, I want you to look at anything that comes up for you. Okay. And if you feel like something keeps sneaking up on you, I want you to consciously take that and visit with it every day. Take it to this space of a higher vibration. See if you can change your perspective on how big of a deal it is. See if you can change your perspective on how bad it will affect the rest of your life. Okay. Some things are a big deal and they feel very heavy, but in 2 years, it's not going to matter at all. Right? I mean, that's just the reality of the world we live in. Okay. And then really challenge yourself to look at anything that comes in through faith as opposed to through fear. Okay. If you can shift one thing, let's start looking at things through faith. And even ask yourself, like, wait a second, if I'm thinking about this through faith, would this bother me so bad? Would I be this worried? Would I be losing sleep over it? Right? And not to give you even more, but really try to live in that joy. Really try to hold on to those moments that matter, the small ones, the big ones, whatever. Allow yourself to feel like a child. Allow yourself to goof off with your children. That's a good place to start. Goof off with your girlfriends, right? Go to a comedy show, sing karaoke. Yes. Like allow yourself to be a kid. Allow yourself to be amazed. Allow yourself to see something for the first time that you've already seen before, even a sunset. I do that all the time. Wow, look at that sunset. Have you not seen 100 billion of those? You know, but I allow myself to get excited. I allow myself to live in that moment because nothing feels better than allowing that into my life. Okay. All right, friends. We are good for now. I hope that was good for everybody. I really just felt inspired to share it all with you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry I gave you so much homework, but I'm wanting things to shift for you guys. I really do. I want it to. And I look forward to our next one. This is recorded. I will give you all a replay. Feel free to watch it if you want to watch it again. Yes. And for those that would like to join us next week, we are going to be the same time next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and we will be ringing in 2025 as a group. You're very welcome, Katrina. You're very welcome. Let me know if you guys have questions, okay? All right, friends. Love you guys. We'll see you later.